Hello, hello, hello again, everybody. This is part two of American Soccer Junkies 2014 review, 2013 review, 2014 preview podcast. This would be the preview portion. If you haven't listened to the review, go and listen to it right now. Then come back to us. But make sure you come back to us at this latest podcast. Anyway, we talked about some great stuff on the first one. Transfers, World Cup draw, but we're here to talk about the here and now and the future on this podcast. So once again, it's me and Steve Fogarty here to talk about everything American soccer.
Yes, sir. So the January camp was announced a few weeks ago, and the boys took a little trip down to Brazil. So that's how we'll get started. So thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at that, and there's a couple of interesting things about that trip to Brazil that I always find intriguing. One is that they managed to bring the entire camp down. Initially, the U.S. Soccer, I was following them on Twitter that day, and they were kind of teasing it out like they were gonna the initial plan was to announce a couple cuts. It wasn't gonna be many, just trim the roster down to go to Brazil, and then they're like, I guess we'll throw everyone on the plane. Eric Alexander, you can come. Seth Sinovic, why not? Hop on the plane, bro.
Michael Harrington, wing seat.
Hey, Michael Harrington is still on this roster. He survived the level of cuts. Chase Myers did not. Actually kind of like Chase Myers, like a bombing wingback, but I think it's only because Michael Harrington is the only left back that was left on the roster. So yeah, it's an interesting squad. Let's just say that. What are your thoughts? I mean, in the past couple of years, there's been a number of players who kind of made an impact in the final January camp before the World Cup and have made it onto the squad or made it onto a Gold Cup squad and then slowly worked in the team. What guys do you think from this camp stand the best chance of making it to Brazil for real?
Mike Magee. MLS most valuable player. I've been wanting him on this team since May. I was pissed when he didn't make the Gold Cup, but he's having like a career renaissance. He was incredible. He was scoring every game last year.
Yep.
So if he can keep that up, if he even gets a chance if he gets a cap, and I'm not talking like Terrence Boyd last 5 minutes plus stoppage time, I want to see what he can do playing for the national team. I know what Chris Wondolowski can do, and that's not score against anybody of any real quality. As much as I love Wando. But, we know Landon Donovan's going to be there. Eddie Johnson will be on the team probably in some capacity. So, at least from a forward standpoint, Mike McGee's my guy.
Yeah, I mean, I love Mike McGee myself. He's probably my favorite uncapped MLS veteran for the last couple of years.
True. And hopefully that ends. He'll get his cap. And then the other ones, obviously, I think are the two young guns, Yedlin and Gill.
Yeah, Yedlin, I think, has the most promise to make an impact this cycle because just purely by his position. But I'm really excited about Luis Gill.
Oh, he's a great player.
Watching the U20 World Cup last year, it was just watching him operate. It was a fun experience. And
he belonged on the field with guys like Del Feo and Jesse and Pogba. Like, he belonged. He wasn't afraid. His goal against Spain was awesome.
Yep. Yeah, it was.
Yedlin came into Seattle as an unknown, and he obviously he got some fanfare with playing on those great Akron teams in college, but he kind of took the league by storm. He made an All-Star appearance. He's a right back who he likes to get forward, and that's a problem we have on that side of the field. We have, with the exception of Steve Cherundolo, and who knows what his status is. Like, there's not a lot of confidence with the right backs moving forward up the field, and
no.
Yedlin's somebody who's eager to go forward, and then he kind of, as the MLS season went on, became a little bit more disciplined and started to pick his spots better.
Yep, I think when you look at the fullback situation on both sides of the field, and it provides opportunities for guys, for especially promising players like Yedlin. You saw Chris Clute get a shot with the early call up, but he didn't make enough of an impact to move on to the next stage. But you see these young guys, and you look at Cherundolo is he might be too old for this World Cup, let alone the next one. And Brad Evans is not a long-term solution. Eric Lehigh could be, but he barely gets a sniff under Klinsmann.
Fabian Johnson's audition went poorly.
Yep, it's the right back position is open, and Yedlin could step in. I mean, I personally think he might be a little raw for the full international stage, but it's good that he has a game like this against South Korea, who are a good team that will allow him to get his feet wet, and we can kind of see where he stands defensively, especially because we know he can get forward, we know he can provide an offensive spark, but
I'd also feel much more confident if he had, some established vets playing next to him, a Bocanegra, Demerit.
Yeah.
Goodson, I still have issues with Goodson. He scares me at times. So.
Yeah, you look at Goodson, and I think he's a player. I can't think of a good comparison. It's almost like watching a mediocre basketball player, like say a walk on a Division I basketball team, stepping off the varsity team and jumping into like an intramural game. Suddenly he when he plays with the best players, he plays very conservatively. He does what he does best. When he plays with like the B squad, like he was in the Gold Cup, he tries to become Andrea Pirlo from his own 18 and bomb balls forward and try to hit these inch perfect balls, and it worked a couple times, and I don't necessarily hate that, but he's not the type of player. He's not a calming influence in a situation like this. He's that, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, your comparison is on the money. But he's another one. He never seems to just have an average 6 rating on the game. He's either gonna punch way above his weight, or he's gonna be the biggest eyesore on the field. So, which means he'll make this squad probably because he has the one elite skill of playing balls in the air in the box, where he can clear that out. And he seems a lot more confident than Omar Gonzalez doing it, which makes no sense to me. And he's also he also is he's always a candidate to poach a goal.
Yep.
So he's a serviceable player.
Yeah, no, I think I like Clarence Goodson. Like I don't want my last comment to be seen as a slight on him. I think I like Clarence Goodson more than most. I just don't think with this squad he provides that influence that is needed to bring up guys like Gonzalez and Yedlin.
Yeah, he's not Carlos Bocanegra in the back, take charge kind of guy.
No, exactly. No, he's not. But I think when you put him with a Tim Howard behind, I mean, Ramondo can kind of keep him in line, but you put him with like a Tim Howard behind him and Michael Bradley and Jermaine Jones in front of him, he's gonna toe the line a little bit better, a little bit more.
Yeah, especially Howard over Guzan. Guzan is way too laid back.
Yep. But
hell of a keeper though. I'll give him that.
Great shot stopper. But you look at this squad, and you can probably see what maybe almost 10 guys that are gonna probably be in Brazil at least. You have Ramondo, a Goodson, Parkhurst, maybe Evans. You pretty much Evans, Gonzalez, Beasler. You see Beckerman probably be there. Zusi, Mix, Donovan, Eddie Johnson. Those are just guys that have a lock to above average chance of making it, and then that doesn't even take into account guys like Fahlhaber who could make a late charge. Even someone like Dax McCarty, I think, could make a case.
Mm-hmm.
The Mike McGee.
I'll disagree with you on just Beckerman, who's 50-50, and it's teetering the fine line, whatever side he's on.
Yeah,
that's a really compelling storyline. Will Kyle Beckerman make it?
We flip a coin just about every time we do a lineup projection.
Yeah, but Fahlhaber is really intriguing because he was the unsung hero of the 2010 World Cup. He made Bob Bradley look like a genius.
He was.
He brought him on. I mean, half of it was, Ricardo Clark was terrible, but when Fahlhaber came on, he was just beasting the attack.
Yeah,
he was dangerous.
He
He could play on the wing too, which is big. He's more of like an attacker than he is a holding midfielder. You don't want him in the Jermaine Jones destroyer role.
No, I mean he's a guy when you talk about those players that can come on in the 75th, 80th minute and kind of unlock a game late. He's that type of player, and I think he's good at that. He's not. He provides that good for the United States. He may not be a true international quality player at that kind of attacking at the number 10 role, but as we've seen in the last couple of years, we don't really seem to have someone that can fill that role better. There's guys that show sparks of that, but he really consistently provided a solid presence, being able to kind of facilitate the attack for the United States.
And he's somebody he's played with this team for so long that he's going to seize his opportunity. Joe Corona had that opportunity. Was too inconsistent to really trust. They even tried moving Johansson into that role. That wasn't the best idea. I don't like Donovan in that role. So he's basically Dempsey's understudy, which doesn't really make much sense because they've been playing together for about 8 years on this squad. But he has a really good shot at making the World Cup if he gets his chance.
Yeah.
And this is his chance. I fully expect him to start against South Korea.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if he doesn't.
Now, I mean, before we get too much into the logistics of the game itself, let's go back to, it's my fault for taking us away from. How do you think that trip down to Brazil actually? Do you think what do you think its impact will be for these players going forward into the World Cup?
For the guys like the Donovan and Eddie Johnson, who, well, I'm not even going to say Eddie Johnson because he was away and now he's back, but with the exception of Donovan and Fieldhaber, none of these guys have ever played on a World Cup team. Oh wait, was Parkhurst there?
I'm not too sure.
Hang on, let me just look that up real quick. But it gives these guys a sense of, all right, this is what you're fighting for, so that when they get off the plane in June, they're not overwhelmed by, holy crap, now we're in Brazil, this is the real thing. They're seeing it for the first time. And Parkhurst was not.
No, he was not
a World Cup player. He was an Olympian, but not a World Cup player. So I think it's a really brilliant move.
Mm-hmm.
I think sending these, and these aren't the established vets. A lot of these are the ragtag kids, and the guys hoping for their one shot. So, and you have guys like Donovan and Johnson and Goodson. Goodson was
on the 2010 World Cup roster.
Yeah, Goodson was. I forgot. I messed that up. But so it's a good dynamic to have. They know now what it's like. This is for real. This is in now 5 months. We're kicking off against Ghana. Do you want to be here or not? So I think if anything, it's inspiring for these guys.
Yep. I think the one thing that, it's an issue that's been talked about a lot, that kind of reared its head with this trip, is the fact that you have these guys, they're training they went to the same hotel, use the same facilities as they were at the World Cup in, I believe, outside Sao Paulo is where they're stationed.
Mm-hmm.
But their games are over 1,000 miles away, or almost 1,000 miles away from their home base. So it's interesting. It may give them a sense kind of some of the World Cup dynamic, but you can't. It doesn't give quite the full idea of it. Not that you really want to replicate that in practice, but I'm not sure it's going to have. I agree. It might be settling. It might be settling and kind of give an idea of the stage to some of the younger players, but I'm not sure it's going to have the priming effect that necessarily was initially intended by the scheduling of the trip.
Yeah, well, that's just we got screwed on the air travel in Brazil. So I think just being there though, it's one thing to be in Brazil where the World Cup is, and then there's one thing to be just training at the national team facility.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it has a little bit more influence than you do. But we'll agree to disagree on that.
Yep. I mean, it doesn't hurt. Not gonna lie. Take these guys on even if it's just for team bonding and get some of these guys to kind of get used to going on these long trips together and kind of just integrate some new guys into the setup, even if it doesn't play the biggest role.
Yeah, it's also a confidence builder. Thinking, Jurgen Klinsmann wants to take me to Brazil.
Yep.
Doesn't hurt.
It does not hurt.
I mean, there might be a few rude awakenings when the main team's announced, and I guess it'll be announced probably April or May. But for now, it's not bad. None of these guys are doing anything anyway. They're in their off season.
Yep, exactly.
So it's not like we're screwing the clubs over by jet lagging them.
Nope. But now they're no longer in Brazil. They're back stateside. I believe they landed in LA a couple days ago, and they're getting ready to take on South Korea. So, what are your thoughts on that game in general?
I feel like it's the type of game where we're going to come out a little flat because some people are probably going to be a little bit nervous because they know how much is at stake and how they have to play well. So, but it's a winnable game considering this is the South Korean. I don't know if it's the B squad. It might even be the C squad. Like, there aren't many guys that on this team. So, Ji-Sung Park and Sun Young Ki are not, walking through the door.
You don't want Ji-Sung Park walking through that door anymore.
South Korea just got slaughtered by Mexico.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how their morale's going to be.
Yeah, they have. Let's see. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 players on the squad with more than 11 caps.
Yeah, they did beat Costa Rica though.
Yep.
But that's a little bit different than I don't think Costa Rica sent it. Did Costa Rica have a? Let me see what roster Costa Rica brought. Costa Rica brought They had some of the big names there. Not all of them, but Michael Imana, Carlos Hernandez were both there. So I think it's going to be a competitive game. I feel like it's one that'll probably end 1-0, 2-0.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to be. We're going to have the best players on the pitch. Landon Donovan will probably find a way to score. So, I mean, it's an interesting dynamic. It's not the game that you're going to be most excited to watch, though. Obviously.
No, I mean we'll watch it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no. Unless you're a huge fan of these kids that nobody's seen before, and you have such high promise for them, but don't expect the brilliant play that you expect when Bradley and Dempsey are on the field.
Yep.
The defense should be okay, especially in the middle.
Yeah, I mean,
go
ahead.
You have 3 in Gonzalez, Beasler, and Goodson, who 2 of those 3 are going to be in Brazil. There's a really good chance that all 3 are, depending on what happens with John Anthony Brooks and whatever Klinsmann decides to do with Jeff Cameron.
Yep.
So,
I mean, as you said, we're not going to see the type of play necessarily that we are expecting from the A team. But what do you want to, what would be an ideal takeaway from this game for you?
Seeing 5 or 6 guys maybe step up and outplay the rest of the competition in key roles. Like, if JaneG.Photography gets a shot in that holding midfielder role, can he embrace it? Can he show that he belongs and maybe push a guy like Sasha Kleshtin, who's a man without a position for this squad right now? Can Yedlin's a big one?
Mm-hmm.
He'll have his opportunities to make plays on offense. I'm assuming Donovan's going to play at striker.
Yep.
If not, it'll probably be Eddie Johnson. But if both of those guys start, you'd expect them both to, do you start Zusi or do you start maybe a Brad Davis and give him another chance?
Yep.
And there's so many guys that can make their case to get called into the final World Cup camp. So,
yeah, I mean, you talk about that. I mean, Yedlin obviously is the one I'm most excited to see. You mentioned
watch Klinsmann start Brad Evans at right back.
Oh yeah, it'll happen.
I'll punch a hole in the wall. I'm serious. I want to see this kid so badly play for the U.S.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Dax McCarty, and he's a guy that as much as I keep wanting to write him off, partly because his name is Dax. Um, I I like him. As a player, I like him as a player.
Dax isn't his first name. You realize that, right?
I don't even care.
Oh, well, it's his middle name. I don't know if you knew that.
That's just so.
Mike McCarty isn't an exciting name. You got to go Dax.
Mike McCarty. I'm calling him Mike. He's officially now Mike McCarty to me.
I want to see him play though. He's like that above average MLS player.
Yep, he is. He's
like in the crosshairs of he's like a little bit too good for MLS, but he's not good enough for Europe.
Yep, I think you might feature prominently in our If We Were Jurgen piece, which will likely come out tomorrow, or probably today by the time you read this, by the time you hear this.
I'm starting him. I'll say it right now. I'm starting him in Diskerud in the middle. But
all right then.
So there's 2 of my
11. Yeah, I mean, I want to see that. I want to see what McGee can do. I want to see at least a half from him.
Yeah, because you don't need to play Landon Donovan 90 minutes in this game.
No, you don't.
I don't think Landon Donovan wants to play 90 minutes in this game.
I agree.
Well, I'd like to see. I guess if I could split another, I'd want to see Gill and Feilhaber try and run that number 10 role. Each get maybe, Feilhaber maybe more than 45, maybe something like 60-30.
Yep.
Left back is going to be an adventure in this game.
Michael Harrington is probably, it might. Parker.
They put Yedlin at left back and play Brad Evans at right.
Michael, I might see Parkhurst get some time out there.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know who to put there.
Brad Davis.
No.
Couldn't you see
Brad Davis will get on the field somehow, but no.
Couldn't you see Klinsmann trying that?
Yeah, and he'll probably be able to get away with it too against this Korea team.
Yeah, left back, as always, is an adventure.
Sean Johnson in the goal probably won't have. Oh wait, no, Raimondo will play goal.
Yeah. This is the classic. Thank you for being our great number 3, Nick, and giving him a game.
Yeah. I'm assuming Zusi's gonna get a start.
Yep. I mean, I still want to see Zusi make an impact. Because he has some great moments and some great games, and there's sometimes that he's just not that great. He's never awful. He's never Breck-Shaying up the field, but I don't know. He's a guy that I'm still not sold on as a piece on this World Cup team. I know I should be, but I'm not.
Well, I'm not sold on him either. He's never anything better than like the 8th best player on the field.
Yeah, I mean, he has his moments, but
this is a chance for him as the guy who's been playing, to maybe take control of the game. And obviously, he's a phenomenal crosser, but can you take a player on? I think that's what we need to see. I don't want Graham Zusi probably shouldn't be starting in the World Cup.
Mm-hmm. But
he might end up doing so. But I need to see more before I can have confidence.
Yeah. I don't know. This game will be good. It's always good to have these January camp games. I'm more excited for Ukraine in March.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one.
Mm-hmm. Ukraine in March, and then we have Mexico and probably a couple. I don't know if they've announced. I don't think they've announced any others for their.
No, but that Mexico game's happening.
Yeah, it's happening in April, I believe.
So, we played 3 right before the World Cup.
Yeah, traditionally.
In 2010, we had I think it was Turkey, Czech Republic, and the Socceroos.
It was the Socceroos were in South Africa. I remember watching that really poor quality broadcast on my couch.
Yeah, and then we all watched the Czech Republic game, which was the Hercules Gomez breakout game.
Yep.
Loss. And I think Turkey was the last one, but I can't remember.
I don't think Turkey much happened. Yeah, but so there'll be some games, and it's gonna be fun. I'm excited. But what this January camp, especially January camp immediately before the World Cup, what it really means, we're gonna talk about is what are these players' chances of making it to Brazil for real? And I know we've already discussed some individual cases, but are you ready to break down our 2014 Fogarty?
Yep, I went deep into the Microsoft Word archives to find this bad boy. So
who are we looking at?
We picked 23 players, and the ones that we have in bold are absolute locks.
Also, the point, this is the first time we're doing a 23 for 2014 in 2014.
Yep. So this is the 23 for 2014 from whenever the hell we did this last. I can't even remember. All right, the 3 goalies are locks. Howard, Guzan, Raimondo. That's not changing. We're not going to talk about it.
Nope, we're not.
The defense. We have 7 defenders. The first 2 are locks. They are Jeff Cameron and Matt Beasler, followed by Brad Evans, Omar Gonzalez, Michael Parkhurst, Clarence Goodson, and DeMarcus Beasley. We have 8 midfielders. 3 are locks. The 3 locks are Bradley Jones and Fabian Johnson, along with Zusi, Kleshkin, Beckerman, Discarud, and Alejandro Bedoya. We have 4 forwards as locks: Dempsey, Altidore, Eddie Johnson, Landon, and then we have Aaron Johansson as the 23rd member of the squad.
All right. So, any immediate changes you want to make to that?
I can't think of any change that could be made without a discussion happening first. So, the closest thing I would do is probably take the bold off Eddie Johnson's name again, which has happened before.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that, aren't we?
Yeah. So that'll happen now. Is Alejandro Bedoya a lock?
I don't think so.
All right.
I'm not ready to put him in there.
Which is surprising because the Boston College guy says no, and the Penn State guy is pushing for it. All right, but I'll leave it at that because I was the one who asked the question because I'm not 100% sure myself.
Who was our 5th forward?
Aaron Johansson.
It was Aaron, EJ, Clint, Landon,
Josie, and Deuce.
How did I forget Josie? Oh, what an idiot.
The entire English Premier League has forgot Josie.
Yeah, and they just should talk about the transfer. The Sunderland has signed another striker.
Yeah, just real quickly. If you were to rate the worst body language players in the world, would Josie Altidore be your starting striker? I was watching one of the Cup games the other day, and he looked miserable.
Yeah, it's always interesting. Ah, Josie, how you tantalize with your talent and then just scare us away.
All right, so any changes for you? Because I'm really picking at straws with what I want to do, but I can't take Kyle Beckerman off just yet. Nobody's really taken that role. I'm not sure he belongs, but
you know what I almost want to do? I almost want to throw DeAndre Yedlin immediately into the fire.
You want to put him on the team?
I think I might want to.
Who's gone? Evans?
Evans. I want to do it.
I'm not going to argue. I'm like, as me, the fan, I'm not going to argue this, but in principle, do you think Klinsman's ready to make that kind of commitment?
I don't know, but I think in his heart of hearts, Jurgen Klinsmann knows that Brad Evans is not the motherfucking answer.
Yeah, I agree. We almost kept this PG.
We almost did, and then Brad Evans happened. I
don't care. American Soccer Junkies, where Brad Evans happened. All right, DeAndre Yedlin is on the team. If you had told me this back when we started this podcast, I would have told you were crazy because I had no idea who DeAndre Yedlin was. I want to put Brooks on this team, but he's not playing for Herthas, which is bothering me. He's got some kind of knock.
Yeah, we already have our one inexplicable young gun appearance now.
Yeah, but Brooks is good. He's so good.
He is good.
Just watch him play. He's so good. How about Kleshkin? He had some kind of awesome start in Belgium, and then he kind of fell off.
Yeah, I'm thinking that he might be another guy that could fall off this team. But the question is, who steps in his place now?
We could even put another defender in, because Kleshton's a holding midfielder. You have Bradley Jones, Cameron can play it, Beckerman can play it, Diskerud can play it.
Yeah. Now the question is, do we want to put in another defender, or do we want to put on another kind of attacking midfielder, kind of another creative force?
I'm leaning towards Maurice Edu, but you can't have Edu and Beckerman on the team at the same time.
No.
I'm not. Corona's playing again, which is good.
I'm not saying this is a name I'm ready to throw on this roster yet, but I at least want to throw his name into the discussion of potentially a place in Brazil, and you're gonna be shocked. Stu Holden.
Oh, that'd be incredible.
He is back. He's training with the national team on a kind of limited snap count basis, for lack of a better term. With his recovery from his injury inching closer and closer, it's a race against time. He'll have to get back on the field probably sometime by March. I have to say, to really have a legitimate chance.
And Bolton will put him on the field because they love him over there.
Yeah, I mean, they loaned him out to Sheffield Wednesday, which is where Gooch is now, before the injury.
Oh, I'd love to put Stu Holden on the team. I can't do it, though.
I can't.
Right now,
I wasn't saying I'm ready to.
No, but...
It's just a name. It's just a name. Just a name I'm throwing out there, just to keep in the back of your mind. Just keep it cognizant.
He's so much better than Kleshton and Beckerman.
I think he has a chance. I think he has a chance to be in Brazil. I really do.
Well, if I put Maurice Edu on this team, though, then we might as well take off another defender. So I don't know if there's any point in doing that right now.
Yeah, I don't think Edu can come back. As I said when we talked about his transfer in the first podcast, go back and listen to it if you haven't. I think he has to really prove himself as one of the best midfielders in MLS over the first couple weeks of the season to really make it onto the World Cup conversation. I'm not saying he can't, but I think he needs to do that.
All right, so this now I think comes down to two. There's three things I think we need to discuss. Kleshton versus Feilhaber.
Feilhaber. Let's go. Let's make it a big discussion for that spot. You could have Feilhaber. You could have a Dax McCarty type player. You can even have Brad. Attacking? You can even have Brad Davis.
No. Brad Davis is out.
You're already throwing Brad Davis out?
No, I want nothing to do with Brad Davis.
All right then.
I got over Brad Davis's awesome performance against Panama. You can put Joe Corona in there.
But has Klinsmann gotten over Brad Davis?
No, absolutely not, which is a problem. So Brad Davis is in the discussion. I don't know. I feel like Kleshton, ever since Anderlecht bowed out of the Champions League, he's kind of disappeared. So, he'll get a shot.
Do you think he'll stick it through to the end?
I don't know. I can't see him sticking it through to the end without being replaced at least once.
All right, so that's what we have to make a decision right now. Who's it going to be? Pick a name. This is your spot. Pick a name.
It's not going to be a player that Klinsmann picks. I'd put Joe Corona probably on the team, but I don't think Klinsmann. I think Klinsmann's had enough Joe Corona for this cycle. Who would you put?
I'd probably stick with Kleshton, honestly. It pains me. I don't want to do it, but I would do it.
All right, we'll stick with him for this one chance. Benny Feilhaber's on notice, though. He has a shot to take this role.
I love Benny Feilhaber. Don't get me wrong. I want to see him. I want to see him back with the group. Now,
all right, question number 2.
Yep.
Is Eddie Johnson's spot still safe on the roster?
I think for now, because I'm not really itching. I mean, that's another spot Feilhaber could take, because we do have 4 forwards already. That's a spot that someone like Herc Gomez could take if he can somehow do something. Mike McGee, anyone but Chris Wondolowski. Yeah, Terrence Boyd, we've had him in and out. But I
Yeah.
think for now, I think Klinsman likes EJ. I think he sees him as a versatile player, even though I see him play and I think he's not a versatile player. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think EJ's spot is safe for the time being. I'd be happy to see someone else take it. I'm always find myself uninspired by him. Granted, knowing EJ's performances, I think against South Korea he's guaranteed at least a goal.
Yeah.
That's an Eddie Johnson goal game if I've ever seen one. You can see him
Off
a
a
mile
header, bro.
away.
All right.
Do you
Question
agree?
number 3. Are we prepared to go into the World Cup with Fabian Johnson and DeMarcus Beasley as the only options at left back?
I think we might have to be. What other options can we even pull from? Tim Ream.
Chris Clute could have. I mean,
He didn't even make it. He didn't even make it through. He lost out to Michael Harrington.
Yeah, that's not good.
I don't know who Michael. All I know who Michael Harrington is the kid who lived in my dorm freshman year. What up, Mike? How's it going? You probably don't listen to this podcast, but if you do, there's your shout out.
Cherundolo's not anywhere near the discussion until he actually can stay.
He's a right back anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, but if
Edgar Castillo, you ready to put Edgar Castillo back into the mix?
Klinsman loves Edgar Castillo, and Edgar Castillo is apparently playing really well.
I just don't want to. I don't want to see him. I think we're looking at DeMarcus Beasley, World Cup starter.
Oh, that's really scary. Not so much for the one-on-one defending, but for covering somebody's ground, if necessary.
Yeah, it's scary, but I think it's our reality.
Michael Parkhurst is going to survive this without even really much of a discussion.
No, I think we both like him. We both like what we've seen from him. His ability as a defender. Obviously, we know that he lacks a little going forward, but I think he survives. I think he can play on the left in a pinch. So maybe that might be. We'll see. We'll see if he does against South Korea. That's my hope.
Klinsman likes him. Klinsman keeps bringing him in despite the fact that he hasn't sniffed the field.
Yep.
With Augsburg.
I think his move to Columbus will only help. It'll only continue to give him some confidence and some playing time.
I'm looking at the roster right now, and with the exception of Brooks, who's a wild card because he's hurt. Oh, what about Timmy Chandler? Does he want to play for the U.S.?
I don't even want to talk about Timmy Chandler until I see him in a jersey again. He doesn't exist to me.
All right, fair enough. My last question: Mix this Discarud, lock?
Interesting question. It's something that I think even 1 or 2 podcasts ago. Granted, that was like 6 months. He was just sneaking out of the team. Now maybe a lock. I almost cannot disagree with you. I think that's a fairly safe proposition. I think. Yeah, I'm
doing it.
If you're doing it, I'm up for it.
I'm doing it, and here's why. This summer, he was the guy that, the smart, quote-unquote, USA fans were clamoring to see, and all they really had to base off it was that goal in Russia. And he lived up to the hype.
Mm-hmm.
He was a game changer. He set up the Dos a 0 goal for that last one. He's a player. And Klinsman loves him. Klinsman will call him in any time.
Uh-huh.
He was playing on the Gold Cup. He was playing in the qualifiers. He was playing in the friendlies. He's been all over the place for us.
Yep. All right. I'm willing to concede him as a lock, and I like it. I'm a fan.
I like it too. And I think he's in the lock as the guy that they're going to try and push to be Clint Dempsey's backup.
I think he's the main reason Feilhaber won't be able to sniff this team.
Yeah, well, Feilhaber hopefully will get his chance.
Yeah, it's just
he was a Bob Bradley favorite, and he deserved every cap he got.
Yep. So
all right, so I think we're good.
Any other questions you want to beg of this team?
No, I'm more and more confident on Omar Gonzalez being in this team every game.
Yep.
Brooks needs to play before we put him back here, which will happen in a pinch because we love ourselves some John Anthony Brooks.
We do. We do indeed.
I'm not taking Bedoya off.
Nope.
Especially, there's a team. You want a team that's making the most of their season. Watch Nance in League One.
Oh, yeah.
Zusi really hasn't done anything to take himself off, and nobody's emerged. Question's versatility, I think, is going to get him on this team.
Yep. I think.
Danny Williams, my favorite player. He's been playing well, but I'm not putting him on this team yet.
Nope.
No, I think it's good.
I think we're ready to roll. Ready to rock and roll with it.
I think Eddie Johnson's spot might be in trouble, but I'm not taking him off yet, and he'll score in a couple days, and we'll lock him back in. So.
Yep. So do you want to run down what we got?
All right, a few changes. One big one added onto the squad. Only one player added onto the squad. A couple new locks. So goalkeepers, Howard, Guzan, Ramondo, that'll stay true all the way to June. All locks. In that order, they'll be Howard 1, Guzan 2, Ramondo 3. Defenders, 2 locks, Cameron and Beasler. DeAndre Yedlin, welcome to the U.S.
You have 0 caps, but you're going to be in the World Cup.
What?
He has 0 caps, but we're putting him in the World Cup, and I like it.
He has 0 caps, and we're starting him against Ghana. Omar Gonzalez, Michael Parkhurst, Clarence Goodson, DeMarcus Beasley all retain their spots. Midfielders, 1 new lock, Mix Discarud, joins Michael Bradley, Jones, and Johnson in bold. And then Zusi, question who we had a long debate about, Kyle Beckerman, I think staying on the team for 2 podcasts in a row for the first time ever, and Alejandro Bedoya, who I think is inching closer to the lock status with every passing day. Forwards, Eddie Johnson loses his lock. He's still on the squad along with Aaron Johansson, and the 3 locks, and Dempsey out the door, and Landon Donovan. So there's still moves to be made. How many out of the 23 we have right now? How many do you think will be on the plane to Brazil?
The 23 we have right now, clearly we think all 23, but I think accurately, I think we're probably at this point about 20 out of 23.
That's what I was gonna say, 20 or 21.
Yeah, I mean, there's some spots, and you never know. Barring injury, I think we're 20 and 21. And there's a couple spots that'll be fought for. There'll be someone who rises out of nowhere, but I think we got a pretty good sense of this team.
Yep, and Jurgen Klinsmann, always one to pull something out of left field.
Yep,
so,
I agree.
Yeah, I think in the next coming months we'll see the locks increase, and we'll have a little bit less discussion. But the discussions that we'll have will obviously become more and more important.
Yep.
So I'm feeling good. Howard, Guzan, Ramondo, Cameron, Beasler, Yedlin, Gonzalez, Parkhurst, Goodson, Beasley, Bradley, Jones, Discarud, Fabian Johnson, Zusi, Question, Beckerman, Bedoya, Dempsey, Altador, Eddie Johnson, Landon Donovan, Aaron Johansson. You're 23 for 2014.
Your U.S. men's national team for Brazil opening against Ghana. Those are the men who you will cheer on with a cold American lager or Pilsner, if that's the beer you tend to go for, in your hand. From Brazil. On June I want to say the 16th. June the 16th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, against the Black Stars of Ghana.
Give me a good early 25th birthday present, boys.
If we can vanquish the Black Stars.
If we beat Ghana, it's almost like the World Cup's been made.
That's all we ask. That's all we ask,
God,
boys.
I'm sick of I fucking hate you, Ghana. No offense to the country, I just hate your 23 players.
That's all we ask for is hate, pride, America.
Yeah, and by hate, hate the team, don't hate the country. Don't do anything stupid.
Exactly. But for those 90 minutes and maybe halftime, there's no greater enemy on this earth than Ghana. So
that's such an angry way to conclude things. Give me a Super Bowl prediction.
Super Bowl prediction. Seahawks 24, Broncos 21.
Seahawks 28, Broncos 24.
Interesting. Probably Probably like yours more. I just realized I put Peyton Manning at 21 points in the Super Bowl. Don't see that being held.
Remember Tom Brady's infamous quote from 2007? Only going to score 17. All right.
All right. On that note, we will leave you to enjoy both the Super Bowl and USA South Korea. Which one are we more excited for? South Korea, obviously. Damn straight. So until next time, for Steve Fogarty, I'm Dan Popko, and this has been American Soccer Junkies.